This is one of the more amazing things I've seen in a while. This is thousands of German farmers on tractors descending on the famous Brandenburg Gate in the center of Berlin. Reports are saying more than 5,000 tractors as well as up to 10,000 farmers, if not more.
So, am Brandenburger Tor angekommen. Mittlerweile sind noch einige Trecker im Zulauf und viele sind auch schon hier. Schätzungsweise stehen hier am Brandenburger Tor bis zur Siegessäule irgendwo und bei 4.500 Trecker. Und im Zulauf schätzungsweise...
Apparently some of the signs said stuff like, first the plants starve, then the farmers, then you. Do you know who feeds you? Read another sign. We're very upset over an agriculture policy change by Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany. What's crazy is the same thing is happening in France as well. Up to 1,000 tractors rolled into the city from north and south, blocking motorways, honking horns and flying flags, protesting Macron of France and their attitude towards farmers. It's hard to take it all in and digest, but it seems like they're tired of being cast the villain by their own leaders, their own media, and their own people. They're tired of being blamed for everything and villainized when they're the ones feeding their country. Regardless of what you want to believe or think, this is a real working people blue-collar revolution. Similar to the Yellow Vest protests in France, which barely got any media coverage, that went on for months and months. In America, we don't really know what it's like to have a real workers' revolution because we don't have one. What we have is brainwashed pseudo-intellectual college graduates who have way too much time on their hands, interrupting football games, blocking actual workers and actual blue-collar people from getting to work.
Others, look behind you. You gotta go to work. Get the out of the way.
But whether the media wants to admit it or not, or whether you want to admit it or not, Donald Trump has won over most of the working class. Donald Trump has won over most of the farmers. Donald Trump has won over most of blue-collar America. So that's why you see these goofy media-orchestrated protests, as opposed to the entire farming class rising up and driving thousands of tractors into the city.
This is a shout-out from everyone, the entire profession. From cereal farmers to livestock farmers, the entire profession, which today feels like it has been forgotten by the government and by Europe as well. So yes, the entire profession is crying out today.
You can thank Donald Trump in America. He stopped the working class revolution, so he should be your best friend. In France and in Germany, they went with what some people call a globalist puppet politician. Some would call them liberal or neoliberal politicians. But this is what actually happens when you raise taxes on everybody, when you demonize the actual working class, kind of like they're doing here in America. You're lucky you have Donald Trump. Just demonizing the people who actually keep the country moving forward. And in this case, literally create the food that everybody eats. So what are they upset about besides being cast the villain and constantly demonized by media, politicians, and the brainwashed college-educated class that seems more indoctrinated than they are wise or educated? Well, it looks like the agricultural government package that they're upset about includes plans to limit the use of fertilizer to tackle nitrate pollution in the groundwater and phase out the controversial weed killer glyphosate by 2023 to protect insect populations. To me, this was the funniest, craziest part. There's a lot of people who oppose glyphosate in America and all over the world. It's also known as Roundup, which is a Bayer Monsanto product. But I thought most of the controversy around it was that it might be harmful for human beings. But just leave it to Germany to say that the reason that they really want to ban glyphosate is because insects are being injured. Okay. That seems to be a similar problem in France, them banning glyphosate for either human or insect reasons. It's not quite clear. But the farmers say that these environmental regulations go too far and threaten their entire existence. To quote somebody, when we're supposed to reduce the use of fertilizer by 20% as the government wants us to, It means that our plants get 20% less nutrients every year, and that will have a corresponding impact on our yields and our incomes, said the farmer from Bavaria. I'd love my son to join our business, but if you can't live off it in the future, it doesn't make any sense to keep him interested. So part of their genius environmental regulations is to stop farmers from using as much fertilizer. Over in France, it says Macron has been under pressure from farmers over EU trade deals with Canada and the Mercosur bloc of South American countries, which farming groups say will usher in imports of cheaper agricultural goods produced to lower standards. Let me know what you think, but I think the problem in France and Germany is all these grandiose environmental ideas that a lot of people have, especially left-wing politicians and activists. They are not always thinking logically. So they're crushing their own farmers, their own food supply, they're importing it cheaper from other places, and in some cases they're hoping to possibly change the climate of the planet, even though math and science says that that's not going to happen from the actions that they're taking. Or at bare minimum, they're not compensating from what they're taking away.
We want to warn everyone that if there are no more farmers in France, it will have a knock-on effect on the French economy, because it has an impact on other jobs, so there's a lot of people who will lose their jobs and a lot of companies will close.
If you want to take away glyphosate and stop the amount of fertilizer that they're using, you have to provide something that won't destroy their business. Like, hey, we're going to take away glyphosate, but we're going to give you a different sort of insecticide that does the same exact thing that we can prove is less harmful. Or we're going to stop you from using so much fertilizer, but we're going to make sure we give you something else so your plants can get the proper nutrients and you can have big yields like you want to have. But instead, what they do in Germany and France and even the United States, luckily they don't have that much power anymore, is they just constantly demonize the working class. They demonize blue-collar workers. They demonize farmers. They say it's all your fault. It's all your farms. It's all your fault. We're going to take this away. We're going to take that away. We're going to raise taxes. We're going to take away your private insurance. We're going to do this. Oh, but we're helping you. We're helping you so much. How dare you talk back to our helping you of destroying your business and taking away your private insurance and making your taxes higher and making gas prices higher and rent price. We're helping you. So I think farmers are a little bit ticked off in Germany and France because they've gone way too far to the point where they can't even work anymore. And in the United States, like I said, the only thing that's stopping the working class revolution is President Donald Trump. He's literally a cork in a system that's so screwed up. So to these climate change environmentalists, activists, and all this such, you should stop demonizing middle America. You should stop demonizing the working class and the farming class of Germany and France. And if you want to do something that helps the world, helps the environment, helps people in your country, you have to love the people you're talking to instead of just taking away everything, raising their taxes, stopping them from actually growing the food that you probably eat, and never giving anyone a fair shake in the media. We're tired of it, trust me. So hopefully this is a lesson and possibly some foreshadowing to what happens when you run away, turn your back on your own citizens, raise taxes, take stuff away, have too much government, go with a globalist policy of selling your country out every which way, and demonizing people who want to keep it in the country and build the country from the inside. It's a horrible strategy. It's not working in Europe, and this is what a real working class revolution looks like. Let's try to learn from Europe and stop that from happening in the United States. Because it will happen on probably an even bigger scale if you try to act like their politicians act with these goofy left-wing policies of big government overreach, demonizing the working people of your country, demonizing the literal people of your country, and quite literally biting the hand that feeds you. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and I'll be back with more videos.